Hello, welcome to the North Bank podcast, where, as ever, I'm joined by Stef and Chris. Hello, guys.
Hello.
Hello.
It was a good one last night, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Not bad.
I didn't see it, apart from the 2-minute highlights, which I saw. But Steph, you're going to be our kind of resident expert on all things Arsenal Monaco from last night. So we're going to go through that. Quite a few positive takeaways, I think. Well, bar the obvious one, the result. And then we're going to look ahead to Everton on Saturday, 3:00. So, Steph, you watched the game. How good was it?
It was very good, actually. And especially 24 hours out, because the first half, and a lot of people have been talking about, we had quite a lot of chances and we couldn't take them. Is there a problem with our finishing? And
Can I just jump in there and say I really missed Chris's WhatsApp messages at that point?
Yes. The classic, we're going to rue these missed chances.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't.
I was busy tucking into my lamb shank.
Well, we shanked a few.
Not a football move.
Over the bar, yeah.
This
exactly.
was just for anyone who didn't hear the last podcast, it was my five-a-side annual Christmas dinner last night. So hence, I was watching the game under the table when I could and tucking into a lamb shank.
That's really where the cameras should have been, in North London, rather than at the Emirates.
Yeah.
You know, watching a Champions League match, you know, you tucking into your lamb shank.
Quite.
Look, it was good. It was any win in the Champions League is a good win in the Champions League. And actually, I was wondering about after Fulham, what mattered more, the performance or the result? And I think actually, as much as we talked last time about it being a bit of a relief, maybe the Champions League, because there seems to be such pressure for the league and getting wins in a row there. But actually, when you look at that table, you know, the 50 million teams in the European Super League, it's really quite condensed.
It's tight, isn't it?
It's so tight, you know, unless you've managed to win literally all your games like Liverpool have, there's still a very, very good chance that we could.
Yeah, we're third. We're third, but we still need to win both our remaining games.
Yeah.
I think
very
goal difference could very easily determine the last of those 8 places.
Well, how important then was that 5-1 win away in Sporting? Yeah. That was massive. And then actually yesterday it did look like it might be a game where we still win because we very much restricted them to very, very little. But could we get that second or third? Thankfully we did. And a 3-0 win is probably about right.
Well, no thanks to Jesus.
Look, you didn't watch the whole game, and it's going to run and run. The more games he goes without actually scoring himself, of course, he's going to draw lots of, criticism and speculation about.
What do we think of the lineup then?
I like the lineup because it had Myles-Skelly at left back, and it just looked so much more balanced. Now we were still without Timber at right back, but presumably that's because he has to have his minutes managed ever so slightly. And boy, did Myles-Skelly sort of pay off. There just seemed to be a renewed enthusiasm on the left-hand side. Martinelli looked better. And actually, Jesus was part of that left-hand. He was. He played. It's one of those things. Look, on the one, both things are
for
true.
For people listening, because they're not watching, I was shaking my head dramatically when Steph said Jesus was part of that.
Yes.
And I was being mischievous.
Yeah. Well, but put it this way, both things are true. He played well, but he still needs to put the ball in the back of the net.
Okay, yeah, so define well for a striker.
Well, I know, and that
He had 2 great chances. Like his assist for Saka was fantastic.
Yes.
But I mean, I've just on Jesus. I am being a bit naughty in my kind of attempt at antagonising you on Jesus.
Look, I'm not going to pretend to say that he's
I think
perfect.
on the back of the Fulham game, in all seriousness, on the back of the Fulham game, there's that recency bias that he missed those chances, and the crowd, I got the sense, were frustrated with that. I think if he turns in performances like last night, regularly, then we're not going to be quite so hard on him. Even if, because like you said, the delivery for Saka's goal, if he's turning in, producing assists like that, I'm happy.
Yeah, I don't want him to do that now because I don't want any threat to any potential striking purchase in January.
I don't think that's going to affect
Well, I don't know. I mean, if he goes on a goal scoring spree for the next 4 or 5 games, it might well inform their views, in so much as maybe Havertz's run from January to April didn't kind of ease the pressure or the expectation on signing that striker in the summer, which we didn't do. Because I know I'm only saying this because we've been linked with Matheus Cunha in the last couple of days. And Steph, you mentioned him last week, and you then realised that his stats are actually quite good.
Well, I mean, I've always liked him in terms of passing the eye test. I just wonder if he would make that step up. And like you say, it was only when I went and looked at his numbers that actually he's outscoring Arsenal players in the league. So, and that's in a dysfunctional Wolves team.
I don't think a flurry of form from Jesus is not going to change the longer term plan that we have for a striker, right?
Yeah, but January's not longer term,
right? So my feeling is,
you think it's a loan?
No, I don't know. I think that we need to get a striker in January.
Right, but we were in for one in the summer and we failed in Sesko.
But that was it.
Okay, but it shows an intent and a profile that we were looking at. So my point is, I don't think Jesus fits that profile at all, and therefore, no matter what he does in the next month or two, I still think a longer term purchase is on the cards.
January or summer?
Well, I think more likely summer.
Do you think that's wise?
No. Look, we want a player to come in and bolster our front line because. And I read an interesting piece. I think it was Arseblog, but I could be wrong. Who was talking about how we've got those difference makers in Saka and potentially sort of Odegaard, but there needs to be another one in the front line who, when it's not quite clicking for us, can just make a difference. Because Saka's performance yesterday kind of felt like that. The first goal was well worked. Jesus got his assist, but then Saka really did have to kind of grab the game a little bit, which he can do, and then make that difference. In terms of the front line, the fact that we were in for Sesko in the summer, and yet Havertz so far this year has got, I think he's into double figures in all competitions. He only got 14 last year, so likelihood is he's probably going to score more than he did last year. I think Jesus is just a bit of a bonus. Arteta kind of backed him in the press conference, but that, we don't know what water that really holds, because essentially Jesus is on big money, and if he's not really contributing to the team that much, then we're going to be looking for more to come in. But I think he still can maybe function as a subsidiary forward, either coming on for Saka late in the game, coming on for Martinelli, later in the game. He started basically because Havertz needed to not start a game, essentially, and come on later in the game when there was a little bit of pressure. He can play with a little bit less intensity, and that kind of worked for us at home.
It made a
Monaco.
difference, yeah. It made a difference ultimately.
I think long term, no. What will hold the club back buying in January is money, is essentially it. And basically, because there's still a reticence, it seems, from the club to pay that little bit more over the odds. They hesitated on the Leipzig striker. It was Sesko, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Sesko. Yeah, because I don't know it was his age profile and the money that we were asking for. Was it they felt it was too much of a gamble? That's what will hold Arsenal back, not the current players that we've got, because we know we need more. Whatever.
Well, I think it was Sesko himself who kind of rejected the move. He wanted to spend another year. His age, he was sensible.
Playing regularly.
If I was advising him, I would have advised him the same thing. Stay where you are. You're guaranteed game time. You're confident. You're in a place where you're well supported. You know the drill, and you'll get much more game time rather than new country, very young, new team, challenging for the title, pushing for Champions League. You're not going to get as many minutes. Just on Matheus Cunha, only because he's been linked, is that the fees, his fee would be between 50 and 60 million. That's what's kind of mooted. But I didn't know enough about him as a player. He's not actually a striker. He's more of an attacking midfielder on the left-hand side. That's his preferred position. Wolves under O'Neill since the October half-term have changed to a 3 at the back, and that allows his preferred role, kind of basically the Merino role, I guess, or the Ødegaard on the left role. But his numbers are really impressive. He's scored 7 and got 3 assists. Interestingly, remember my comment about Jadon Sancho? And I don't believe he's a first 11 for Chelsea, but he's a squad player. And he came on and he, just rifled one into the top corner from outside the area. Well, actually, nobody has scored more goals from outside the area this season than Cunha. He scored 3 of his 7 from outside the area. So he has got this in him. He's a great ball carrier. He's quite big. He's 6 foot plus. But his goals, he's a difference maker. He has scored more equalisers. This is in a Wolves team, and you got to kind of factor that in. Like, teams will come and attack Wolves, so there'll be more space in behind, you would imagine, whereas teams don't come and attack us. They sit back and defend. So he's going to have to create more space for himself. But in terms of, is he better than what we've got? I think so. Is he 50 to 60 million pound better than what we've got? I don't know. But again, if there's a player getting 7 goals and 3 assists in 15 games for a team like Wolves, then, he's 25 as well. He's a decent age profile. He's 25 until he turns 26 in May, because that's how that works.
I've got deja vu, Holly, because it was probably
Tony.
No. I'm going back maybe even a little bit further. You're talking about another Brazilian in the front line in one guise or another, and that was when you did all that research on Rafinha. And then he went to Barcelona.
And look at him now.
And look at him now. He is on fire for Barca.
I stand by that research. The more I researched Rafinha when he was at Leeds, the more I wanted him at Arsenal.
Yeah.
And that's what's happened with Cunha as well. The more I've looked into him and what people say about him and his character and so on, I think he would be a very, we want to improve the squad as well as the first team, and I think he does both. Because he could be playing in the Martinelli. He's not a winger, okay? He's not a winger, but he could. He's a far more effective.
So where do you put him in the starting 11?
Well, he plays in the Arsenal starting 11. He plays instead of Martinelli and Trossard initially. He then also plays instead of Merino, or he dovetails with Merino there. That's his preferred position. So you've got Rice and Partey, or dropping deeper. Rice and Merino. If Ødegaard wants a rest, you play. But again, he's got that flexibility. And I read somewhere that Arteta isn't looking for an out and out striker. The Sesko one was a opportunistic one. You imagine, but Nico Williams was the other one that was mooted. Rafinha was linked, but we went for Rafinha, but he chose Barcelona. Fair enough. And he's not an out-and-out striker, but his numbers are those of an out-and-out striker for Barcelona this season. He's on fire. And I think that's very much how Arteta, he doesn't see, he wants players that have greater flexibility, that can play across the front line and attacking midfield and so on. But this guy's fast as well. Like he's got the pace that we're missing as well on the other side.
Well, I love the fact that we started talking about the Monaco game last night, and we've ended up drifting into January sort of transfer news.
That's my fault.
But even then, I suppose it's sort of taking stock of where we're at. And what was good about last night was everyone felt very refreshed by Myles Lewis-Skelly's performance. Ødegaard and Saka were doing what they always do, and that's why there are certain positions that are kind of fixed. So if a player is going to come in and they're in the Saka position, or not the Ødegaard position because we've got Nanieri as well, but in another position that's fairly locked, they know they're going to be on the bench essentially. Whereas there are those other positions, whether it's the left-hand side, whether it is in the striker position, where we could squad build. But that's what kind of makes me think the club will hold fire. Because if it's just about adding to the squad, rather than someone with, I'm going to go all Liam Neeson now, a unique set of skills, that can do something in January to really electrify our form to the end of the season, I just don't really see us doing it. What I saw last night was a team, and I said this after Fulham as well, Fulham was frustrating because Fulham took their one chance really early, and that put us on the back foot, and we kind of then, I don't know, considering the desperation of the situations, created so little. Go on.
It's the margins. So
But that's it.
We deserve to beat Fulham. We should have beaten Fulham, but we didn't. And Cunha is third in the list of players excelling their XG, their expected goals. So he's far more clinical than any of our strikers by some distance. I haven't compared him to Saka, to be fair, because there's no point. Saka's a god. So, but he's not. He's there to supplement Saka, not replace him. But the players he's there to replace would be Havertz, Martinelli, Trossard. Not Havertz in the starting 11 necessarily, but Havertz up front, perhaps. I don't know, but they dovetail
like we've
together.
been saying, actually, it's about actually rotating. It's about using those players on the bench, 12, 13, 14, 15, that really do make a difference.
Yeah, they'll win the league.
There's no drop-off. And that was what was pleasing last night against Monaco, in that when we were 1-up, but still, struggling, and Monaco did come out very well second half and gave it a bit of a go and put us under the cosh a little bit. It took the substitutions to wrestle back a bit of control with Jorginho, I think it was, Nwaneri later on, Havertz as well.
Havertz, yeah.
Yeah, but they're three really good experienced players who could easily be starting the game like that. But it's about, being able to shift them out, because Havertz probably did need to come on from the bench. Timber obviously needed that time on the bench. This is what they'll be assessing, behind the scenes, which again, I'm going to keep talking about him, but Myles Lewis-Skelly was a bit of a revelation, because we've been saying Arteta probably could look at those couple of players, people clamouring and saying that Arteta doesn't put enough faith in youth. They've got to have the quality with it. Nwaneri got the quality. Myles Skelly last night showed he's got it. He's got something about him. He looked dynamic. He looked strong on the ball. That was the thing that impressed me the most, that he was shrugging off defenders and turning and then, getting the ball forward. It was a really
look
good
at the position he received the ball in. That's exactly where Arteta wants his left back.
Exactly.
And so whereas he's gone on record saying that Tierney will never play, will never start at left back for Arsenal when the expectation is to invert.
Yeah.
Because he just cannot do it. It's not his game. It would be unfair on him, which is why Skelly got the nod over Tierney. Well, we said last podcast, if you can't play Lewis-Skelly at home in the Champions League against Monaco, when you've got when your alternative is Tierney, then when are you going to play him? This is where he's going to get his minutes. And boy, does he take advantage of his opportunity? Absolutely. Yeah. Is he getting all the... I mean, I've seen on TikTok, so many other fan accounts have just popped up on my For You page praising this left back we've got out of nowhere, this other kid from the academy. And we've known about him since last season.
Since he was 9. What are you talking about?
But in and around the first team. And he has obviously played before, but that was impressive. And he should absolutely start against Everton. If Calafiori's even doubtful, then there's no need to play him, because
he's proven that last night. Yeah,
it's like a home game against Everton is like a home game against Monaco, or even more so. That is another perfect opportunity for him to cement his place, kind of build on his confidence, learn, keep learning and so on. Just as a nod to that, because alongside him at the back was Kiwior, and I believe Kiwior had quite a good game.
Yes, he did. He's looking more and more solid. What I noticed about Kiwior, and I thought this while the game was going on, was that what you're going to get from Kiwior is no fuss. You're not going to get much extra from him, but that's fine. The one bit that's slightly extra is his ability to, when he's got the ball deep in possession, he will ping a ball cross
field.
Great
ball, great pass to Jesus, setting free for that chance.
Apart from that, I mean, when the ball's in close quarters and he's put under pressure from the opposition, that's where he's probably is lacking in strength. I mean, for me, he's symptomatic of the fact, a bit like Jesus, really, that it's funny how these players all of a sudden look a little bit better because they're getting the minutes. it's so hard. Look, we referenced it a couple of seasons ago, I think, with Eddie Nketiah, because Nketiah was in that interview where he was quite frank and saying, look, I get 5 minutes at the end of a game. What do you expect? I think there's something true of these other players as well, and especially for a centre-back, where it is about rhythm and it's about understanding with the partnerships of the people around you. And Kiwior develops that. When he came in and played that X amount of games it was last season and looked okay, and he was filling in, he was doing a job at left back, but he looked okay because he was up to speed. It's about trying to balance those things. Saliba
made the mistake that led to what could have been a Monaco goal, so it wasn't even Kiwior that made the glaring mistake. I know I gave Kiwior, I hold him more culpable for the goal Fulham got on Saturday or Sunday, but actually it was Saliba who made the error, gave the ball away, uncharacteristic as it was, but still, that's good. He's bedding in. It does. I mean, obviously, if Gabriel is 100% fully fit, then he starts against Everton. Of course he does. But if there's a doubt, it's a muscle injury. If there's a doubt, then Kiwior can start against home to Everton. It shouldn't cost us ultimately, especially if you've got Saliba and Timber on the right side. So you've got that kind of sewn up. I'm assuming Timber is okay to start. Why do you think he came on? He came on. Yeah, why did he come on? And
just get minutes in his legs.
It's that thing, Chris, you've mentioned before about some play, like they have to tick over a little bit because it's just about maintaining a certain level of I don't know what it would be, adrenaline or horse placenta in their system. Or,
exactly that, Steph. You've cracked it. Can I just get another word on MLS? Just because watching it...
Is that the American League or something?
It is, yeah.
It's our American League. And the goal for Jesus is sort of lauded, obviously, for the pass. He did that cutting through the lines pass a couple of times. But what really impressed me was the pass across from Ødegaard for him to create that chance. He didn't quite get it out of his feet and he got pressed really quickly. Now, the easiest thing to do, you're starting your first Champions League game, would be to just knock it back to your centre-half. And what I loved was the fact that he just went no and he stood strong and he got a little bobble off of the guy challenging him. And, as you said, showed strength and strength of character as well to try that, because if he'd lost it there, we were in trouble.
Did you hear his interview after the game?
Oh, well, when he stood next to Saka.
Yeah, but
Uncle Saka stood there with his chest pumped out.
Age 23.
Yeah, I'm very proud of him, like deadly serious, with his kind of arms behind his back, puffing his chest out. It was wonderful.
As you know, it dawned on me that MLS, I can't do it. Lewis-Skelly is actually younger than my daughter, and I'm like, oh God, I'm not too enamoured by that stat.
What I liked about the post-match interview was Saka was asked about Lewis-Skelly. I can't do the MLS thing either, I don't know why. And Saka said, look, I said to him before the game, this is your level. And I've just, that image of Saka, like you say, now in a senior position, taking on the role and saying to a player, just to give him the belief, give him the pet, you belong here. You shouldn't feel out of place at all. That's what gives him the belief to turn the player in midfield rather than just play safe.
He was asked about the goal and he said he saw Martin was going to send the ball my way, and his only thought, he knew he's going to be hassled by a Monaco player. He said, my only thought was to hold him off and move forward. And then he said Gabby peeled off, Jesus did make a really good run for him, and but he picked him out. He did that, I can't remember the game, but he did that in maybe one of the League Cup games, Myles-Skelly. He played the ball exactly identical to the one he played to Jesus, and we got a goal from it that time as well. So that's twice he's done it, and that's exactly what Arteta wants. Just on Saka then, I have got some stats on Saka.
Oh, please.
He is a bit insane. I mean, they kind of carry on from a couple that you gave us last podcast, Steph. He's now got 14 goal and assists in 14 Champions League games, 8 goals and 4 assists. He's played 7 Champions League games at the Emirates in his career, and he's got 7 goals and 4 assists in those 7 games.
What?
Which is
That's
mental.
insane.
Since the start of this is one that you had, Steph, but we can add to it because he did the same thing last night. Since the start of last season, he has now scored and assisted in 5 Champions League games. Now out on his own more than any other player. I think people like Kane was in that group. You had, I don't know who else it was, but he's out on his own.
How mean-spirited is that third goal, though, to give it as an own... They gave it as an own goal?
It's an own goal,
in the
yeah.
end?
Oh, did they? I thought it was Havertz.
No, it did. No, it was an own goal. It wasn't. The way you look at it is if it didn't hit the defender, or the defender actually kicked it, it wasn't going in.
Oh, okay.
Havertz got if any touch on it, Havertz didn't. I'm not sure.
Was it on target from Saka's shot? Because it should be Saka's goal.
I don't think so. No,
Mean.
it was.
That's
Yeah.
mean.
And the final one on Saka is this season overall in all competitions, only Salah with 28 has more goal involvements than Saka on 21. And just because I'm a bit petty, Saka's got 2 more than Haaland.
Now,
that goal
Ollie,
machine.
Stay humble.
Yeah.
Sorry, I should stay humble. Yes,
The humble
okay.
goal machine.
As we're talking about the Champions League and Man City got a mention, can we talk about the fact that they're like threatened with relegation?
Are they 52nd or something?
In more competitions than one.
Yay!
They're getting used to being 22nd in the league.
But they are like really struggling. And again, I wonder how much of it is to do with Haaland on the pitch, because it's Route 1.
No one else is looking to make runs behind and get ahead of him. Yeah, you do wonder.
He governs their play to such an extent that if it ain't working...
And it worked, and that was great. Now it's not working. Where's your plan B? It's like...
But also there's a few players in the squad. De Bruyne's coming back from injury. He's still an absolutely wonderfully gifted player. But, he's sort of out there on his own. Doku doesn't seem to be...
The New England hope... or the great hope for England, Foden's done the square root.
Didn't even come off the bench against Juve.
But he's got no goal, no assist pretty much all season.
But I don't understand Pep either, leaving him on the bench. You're losing to Juve. You need a result. Foden is a very good player for all that, we scoff at his comparisons to Saka because they're ridiculous. But, bring him on. I don't get it. Pep's it's a weird club. It's the vibes are off. The vibes are off.
Totally.
And they're still bloody 4th in the league, 2 points behind us, bastards.
Says more about us though, doesn't it?
Well, they're still a threat.
Oh yeah.
As Le Grove keeps saying, he'd rather be 6 or 7 points behind Liverpool than City. It's still, the City is still the team to measure yourself against until such a time as they're not. And Liverpool are 25 points clear, perhaps. But who knows? Are we done on Monaco? That's it now until January 22nd. I think we're home to Zagreb and then we're away to Girona. They're both in the bottom 5 or 6. Got to think, it'll be interesting to see. We win our next game and that might clear things up a bit.
Can I just mention very quickly, just for the kind of set piece freaks out there, that I think all our goals were open play.
What is this witchcraft?
Open goal, ole.
We only had 3 corners, and
we're rubbish.
That's it, right? You've reminded me. I've written one other thing down, Steph. Monaco kept 3 players up.
Yes.
Yes.
And is this? So when we had a corner,
They've cracked the code.
They've left 3 players up. What? And we only had a couple of corners, didn't we? What did you say, Chris? Was it 3? Did you say?
Yeah.
But we didn't score from them, so obviously there's a crisis going on.
Yeah. Yover out.
Yeah, take that, get that mural down.
That mural, yeah.
Get him down.
Is that under the tunnel going towards?
Yes.
Yeah.
So I obviously haven't seen it. Who ended up staying back then? I mean, we'd have had to react to that in game.
Fullback. So Myles-Skelly was definitely one of them.
Because you'd have to keep 4. You'd have to keep 4 back, surely.
So I think I literally can't remember now. Martinelli. It was all the little quick players, basically. I can't remember off the top of my head, but it was interesting to see, and it just looked. you realise how much space there was in the box because there was like 6 players not there because we've just been putting everyone in there. Look, it's one of those, isn't it? That's going to happen, and good. Teams should be doing things different. What I like about that as well, it's all well and good leaving 3 players up, but if the ball gets knocked down, there's fewer players to pick up the loose balls. Jova hopefully will come back with another chess move to try and
we'll have a reaction or a response to that if it happened in the Everton game, for example.
You would think so.
Well, of course.
Prepare. Sean bloody Dyche is coming.
Don't worry, we're not there yet. We're not there yet. Anything else about Monaco? Champions League? If we're talking about Champions League, the Arsenal women beat Vålerenga 3-1 this evening or this afternoon. They now play Bayern Munich on the 18th of December. Bayern Munich top the group, 13 points. Arsenal women on 12 points. So a draw's no good. We play them at home on the 18th. A draw's no good, but if we beat them, we top the group. I don't know what that means in terms of going forward, but it's obviously better to top a group than finish second. But we've qualified anyway. They're quite far away from teams in third and fourth. So well done to them, seeing as we're talking Champions League. If nothing else on Monaco, then we'll have a little breather. And when we come back, we'll have a quick look ahead to Everton on Saturday. Catch us then. And welcome back to the North Bank podcast. Now, Everton, Saturday, Premier League, back to the tension and stresses. And typically, I was thinking about this, it hadn't dawned on me until I started doing a bit of research on Everton, but they've had a break. They've had their game cancelled against Liverpool. They've had a long time. We've played 2 games since they last played. Now, is that going to make a difference? Should that make a difference to the outcome? Well, I don't know. We've lost a couple of players possibly because of those games we've played. So you never know. We might be in a worse place than they are. A little bit on Everton. They're not having a great season. I don't know, where are they? 15th in the league. They've got 14 points. They beat Wolves. I want to say Wolves. 4-0. Last time out. I looked on their injuries and suspensions. I didn't recognise any name on that list, so I'm assuming that all their big hitters literally are available. Steph.
Yeah.
Who do you think is going to be fit and available for us on Saturday?
Well, I don't know if it's about fit and available, but I just wanted, because I was listening to a football podcast earlier. I think it was Totally Football podcast, and they had an amazing stat about Everton, and it was in their last 42 shots in away games, they haven't scored. So their conversion rate, you were talking about Mateus Cunha.
So their due one is the other way of looking at it.
That's how I've read that. Yeah.
Sorry. I'm amazed I didn't. Look, it's Dyche, isn't it? He'll do just enough to keep them in the Premier League. And
there'll be 3 worse teams. Yeah,
there'll be 3 worse teams than them.
And if there is a set piece FC, it's them. No, in all seriousness, they are.
We shouldn't be scoring corners against them, you'd imagine, but.
I mean, they're still playing Ashley Young, who scored against Wolves and is now in the top 5 or something, oldest scorers in the.
Isn't he 58 or something?
Something like that. Yeah, I think so. So, they're such a funny team, and they'll have their new stadium next year. Still ownership issues to wrangle with, and all that kind of stuff.
And it's leaking.
And apparently it's leaking. Yeah, it's not dealing with water very well.
The people who did Old Trafford's roof apparently did theirs as well.
or didn't. Yeah.
Yeah. So go on, team.
Right, team, sorry. Yeah, I mean, look, based on the fitness news we've got, I'm going Raya in goal. Back for Timber, Saliba, Kiwior, Myles, Lewis-Skelly. Like you say, I think their muscle injuries and Calafiori's...
Calafiori's is a groin, if confirmed. Groin, not his knee that was broadcast last week. It is his groin.
So then that will give Timber back on the right, and I like his link-up play then with Odegaard and Saka. Midfield 3, as was really for Monaco, Odegaard, Rice and Marino. Thought that worked quite well, actually. Marino did okay. He seems to... For all that thing about him playing in that kind of left channel, he pops up everywhere. He's just a bit of a Duracell bunny and just,
More importantly, he offered a bit of support to Martinelli, which we've always said was required. So.
Wonder if that could settle a little bit. I know Partey's done well this season, but actually I'll be happy for him to just take a rest.
Well, think about our next game is the quarter-final in the League Cup against Palace at Highbury, I was going to say, at the Emirates on Wednesday. So Partey, he'll definitely start one of those games, but you wouldn't necessarily want him starting both of those games now. There's bigger games to come.
Yep. And then front three, I've gone Saka, Havertz, obviously, but Trossard.
He is alternating. He's done it like 4 or 5 games now. He's done one.
That pattern's there now, isn't it? And Everton will be a bit more dogged. There won't be as much space for Martinelli to run into, so maybe that leans towards Trossard. So that's why I've gone with him. Okay,
I am going to give the quiz, administer the quiz. It's that sounds threatening.
Like an injection. I'm going to administer.
Just feel a small prick.
Bend over.
This is quite predictable. But
who's played for Arsenal and Everton in the Premier League?
You've read my mind. So 17 players have played for both clubs, but 17? I only want the top 6 appearance accumulators, if you like.
God,
so
6?
The top 6. The top 5 are like straight forwards. So the reason I wanted to drop it down one is because of who's number 6. I just, anyway, I thought it'd be interesting. Anyway, so there you go, top 6. Chris.
Yes.
You're starting 11.
Well, for efficiency, it's the same as Stef's, but I'm putting Gabriel back in the centre of midfield because I think he'll be fit. And then up front, I'm going to play Martinelli again, just because of how well it worked with Marino.
Okay, and Steph, I've got exactly the same starting 11 written down as you, as you listed.
Nice.
Steph.
Okay, so I've been on an app that's told me some statistics, and our form, I don't know what metric this is based on, but we've got 87% form and they've only got 33, because in our last 5 games, we've won 4 and drawn 1, and they've won 1, drawn 2, lost 2. And that gives us a win probability of 77%, according to this app. And Everton only 7%. So I've gone 2-0 to Arsenal.
I think that's,
Based on an app.
Yeah. This has to be a home win. It just has to be a home win. Chris, what about your scoreline?
I think they'll get one from a set piece. So it's 1-3.
3-1. Okay, so...
3-1, sorry, not 1-3. Yeah.
So I always have to give the opposition a goal, and they tend to keep a clean sheet when I say that. So I'm actually going for a clean sheet this time. I did say on the previous podcast that I would go for 6-0, but I've kind of tempered that somewhat. I'm going for 4-0. It's a good scoreline against Everton at home. It's my favourite scoreline against Everton at home.
We've stopped them in the past.
My favourite Arsenal goal is actually the fourth in a 4-0 home win against Everton, scored by
Tony Adams.
Yeah, absolutely, just like special goal. So 4-0. Right, how are you getting on your players?
Well, can I make my? Do you want to alternate again, Chris?
Sure.
I'll take the first guess though, but I'm going to mention it because I don't know how true this is, but there's a few rumours popping around Twitter that there might be some kind of applause or something for Kevin Campbell, who obviously is much beloved by both Arsenal.
There's a lovely banner gone up, like a kind of on an advertising hoarding near the ground, which has got he's one of our own with him in an Arsenal kit on one side and an Everton kit on the other,
which is brilliant. Yeah. Love that.
So he is. I think that it's a 9th minute applause, a 9th minute ovation for him. That's the plan. He's number 5 on the list. He's played 101 times for us, 140 times for Everton, so 246 times in total.
I've got Iwobi.
Yes, Iwobi is number 4 on the list. 150 times for Arsenal, 140 times for Everton, 290 in total.
Arteta
is also on the list. He's actually 3rd. You've done it nice order here. 5th. You've missed number 6, but you've gone 5-4-3 so far. Arteta, 137 times for Arsenal, 186 times for Everton. He's with 323 total appearances of the two clubs.
Have we got Richard Wright there anywhere?
Yeah, he is, but not on the top 6.
Nah.
I mean, just because he made a lot of appearances for us, Walcott.
Yeah, Theo's number 1.
Yeah.
355 for us, 85 for them, 440 in total. So you're missing the second most cumulative appearances between the two clubs, and the sixth. Now,
Can I make one more guess?
Yeah, go for it.
Jeffers.
No, I mean, I think he's about 98 or something
Just
like that
a
between
legend.
the two.
And after that, I'm struggling to think of anyone that played for
Right,
both.
okay, so the two...
Martin Keown.
Yes, Martin Keown is number 2.
course.
He's only played 13 times for Everton, but, I
Yeah.
mean...
Technically.
There's just a great story about how we sold him and then bought him back a year later because we sold him because George Graham was like sulking about his attitude or something. So he played 347 times for us and 13 for them, 360 in total. Number 6, he has played a total of 102 games between the two clubs, and he's there because he's one of my favourite players from our history.
Gosh.
He's not English, impudent. Scored a fantastic goal at Old Trafford in the fight, the brawl game. I think it was that game. In fact, it was because he was part of the tackle. It was the tackle. I think it was Dennis Irwin and him. Anders Limpar. I was going to say then the 4 assists for Ian Wright in a game, the goal from the just inside the halfway line.
What a wonderful player he was.
Oh, I just loved him. Absolutely loved him. He played 30. He only played 36 times for us.
Really? Wow.
What?
And 66 for them.
That's amazing.
I know.
I assumed he'd have played. He was with us for 2, 3, 4 seasons at least. But wow.
Nope. Yeah, there you go.
36 times.
Unless I've got them the other way around, 66 and 36. But I don't think I have. No, I don't think I have.
Right, I'm going to go away and I'm going to have a think about players that have played the fewest amount of times but have had the biggest impact. Because Anders Limpar's 36 for Arsenal. Because he's a bit of a cult sort of legend, isn't he?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Well, he's one of, I mean...
in the George Graham team, he was the flair player.
Yeah, absolutely.
But had steel as well. He was tenacious and... Well, you had to, yeah.
Do you remember the goal at Old Trafford? He scored from the improbable angle, like he was almost on the byline, and he just put it in Schmeichel's near post. It was like impudent. I think the commentator said impudent, and that just stuck with me, and that just... kind of, I loved him, absolutely loved him, because he was like with Ian Wright, that was a very agricultural team.
Ian Wright's my hero. Will always be.
No, Limpar's not my hero. Didn't he open a bar in Sweden called Limpar's or something like that? I think that was his.
Don't know.
And I think he's been backing around the club a little bit more recently, but
sporting director, here we come.
Yeah. The rumour was we were going to jump in and get, what's that fella that's just been sacked by United?
Oh, surely not.
Narrow it down. They're all getting sacked.
Yeah, the tea lady.
Jim Ratcliffe. He's just Alan Sugar with like power. Like, you're sacked. You're sacked. Get out. You're sacked. Everyone's
he's
sacked.
knocked down the old Christmas bonus from £100 to a £40 M&S voucher. Like, apparently the atmosphere within the staff is rock bottom, never been so low, toxic atmosphere he's created there. And actually, if you read online, the fans are not happy about him.
This is what happens when you run a club like a corporation.
Like a business, yeah, absolutely. Go on, Steph.
Sorry, something in my head when you started talking about Anders Limpar made me think about this weird story, and I just wanted to look it up to see if it was true, and it's bloody true. Listen to this. So this is courtesy of Sport Bible. Meet the Arsenal League title winner who was convinced he'd time-travelled 2 years into the future. The former gunner and Swedish international got royally stitched up. Former Arsenal and Swedish national star Anders Limpar was once led to believe that he had time-travelled 2 years into the future. This is part of a TV show prank, like hidden camera style show, where he was made to believe that he time travelled 2 years into the future and was utterly convinced.
Oh, bless him.
Poor guy.
Right, okay. So Everton, we've got to win every game we play at this point, haven't we? It's got Man United in the FA Cup. I think it's Spurs straight after that, annoyingly. Would have been a nice opportunity and they're playing like Tamworth Spurs, but then the BBC cameras were in the Tamworth clubhouse when the draw was done live. And when they got Spurs, they were like cheering. And then within about 10 seconds, the chant, Tottenham get battered everywhere they go. Tottenham, like Tamworth, get in there. And the Spurs, I saw one of those decent Spurs blokes on TikTok, he was like, he had the video played in the background, and I thought initially he was going to slag them off, like, who do they think they are? He wasn't. He was like, he's in his hands thinking, it's going to happen, isn't it? And he said, look, we'll play Arsenal away just before that or just after that. We're going to win that one and lose to Tamworth. You know, it's like, you just know it's going to happen. But anyway, right, are we done?
I think we are.
We're done. Right, excellent. Well, thanks for the chat. Thanks for listening. Catch up on Saturday, and we'll review the game on Sunday at some point, I'm sure. Thanks for listening. Cheerio. Goodbye.
See ya.
Bye. The North Bank, an Arsenal podcast. Subscribe, rate and review on your app, and find us on Twitter, Instagram and TikTok at North Bank Pod. Email hello@thenorthbankafc.com and check out our website, thenorthbankafc.com. Produced by The Podcast Company. Didn't mention whether any of us were going.
Oh yeah, only because I'm not. That's the only reason I said
fair enough.
that.
Well, neither am I. So
Nor am I.
Yeah, and because of your message earlier, Steph, I was like, I thought, well, let's not just flag up the fact that
We'll keep pretending that we're the loyal travelling fans.
Yeah. Great, wasn't it?
We
Yeah.
know what
The
we're talking
atmosphere
about.
was-
it was electric.
Hope
Like
that
it
came
was-
through on the telly, because
I haven't even got words to describe it.